I wish to return to an issue which I previously raised with you, and that's the delays in completing apprenticeships in Ireland. Obviously, during COVID, or during the COVID response, the Solace block was postponed and delayed, and that led to a huge backlog and a huge waiting list for apprentices. You told me last September that there was going to be considerable government investment. I take it there has been. Solace have confirmed to me that they're working at full capacity. But the problem is, Taoiseach, that full capacity is inadequate to clear the backlog. You know, it's a bit like, it's a bit like saying that, well, University of Limerick is working at full capacity, so what's the problem? Well, the problem is that full capacity is inadequate. There are still huge delays in completing electrical apprenticeships, plumbing apprenticeships, carpentry apprenticeships, and joinery apprenticeships. Now, all of those are hugely important skills for the very ambitious plans that your colleague, Minister Darragh O'Brien, has. And I think that Eamon Ryan has too, to retrofit. I mean, we need to get people into these areas as quickly as possible and as many as possible into them. And we're not achieving that. We are at full capacity, but the waiting lists remain unchanged. I had an email from a constituent about his son, and he's 2 years into an apprenticeship and he's still waiting for the 7-month Solace block. And after he completes that, he has to do 2 blocks in college. So he's now looking at completing a 4-year apprenticeship, that it'll be 7 years before he will have completed what he embarked on when he started off as a 4-year apprenticeship. He makes the point that that's longer than doctors or barristers have to study for, and that's fair enough. There's also, I think, a fair enough analogy to be drawn in that they didn't, notwithstanding all of the difficulties that COVID posed, and in particular the difficulties in health settings, the difficulty in clinical studies that they have to do in labs, etc., there weren't the delays, there aren't the backlogs that in completing a medical degree that apprentices are now encountering. Now, my constituent's son is contemplating leaving the country. Taoiseach, if this isn't addressed, and working at full capacity may not be enough, we may need temporary, extraordinary measures to clear these backlogs. But those that we are relying on to carry out the very ambitious plans that your government is setting out are contemplating leaving the country because they are frustrated at the lack of progress in being able to complete an apprenticeship. And of course there's a huge difference in what apprentices are paid and qualified carpenters, electricians, joiners, plumbers, etc. And that's the reason that lots of people do apprenticeships, is because they'll be able to earn a living and get on with their life after a fixed period of time. And their goalposts are changing before their eyes. They're getting frustrated. The government needs to deal with this, and I'd like to know what it is planned to do, Taoiseach.
Well, I thank the Deputy for raising what is a very important issue. And the first point I would make is that we cannot make COVID disappear, or indeed the impacts of COVID disappear. No, I'm not suggesting you're saying that at all, but we can't. And unfortunately, it has had impacts across all aspects of activity and lives. But that said, we had a record 8,607 apprentice registrations in 2021. So we're well on the way to to ensure that our 2025 target of 10,000 registrations per annum, that's very much realisable. 2021 registrations are an increase of nearly 40% compared to 2019. So there's real traction here. Crafting apprentice registrations have experienced a marked increase in interest over the past 4 years. And the increasing recognition of the value of these employment options mean that strong registrations are continuing, with more apprentices coming through the system for placement on all phases of their training. And as of Monday, the 2nd of May, there have been 2,056 registrations, 1,794 craft and 262 for new consortia-led apprenticeships. And the total apprentice population as of last Monday is 23,981. Now, in terms of and I can go through all the funding that's provided, the employer grant scheme has worked, the €2,000 for employers of apprentices on consortia-led programmes. On the backlogs, a number of agreed reform measures are being implemented to try and clear the waiting lists and the wait lists. And that includes changed delivery structures for phase 2 off-the-job training in the 3 programmes with the largest waiting list, electrical, plumbing and carpentry and joinery, to facilitate a 3rd intake of apprentices per annum. An opt-in rapid employer assessment at phase 7 on the job was completed for apprentices who had finalised phase 6 and spent more than 4 years in their apprenticeship. More than 8,400 apprentices, or over 70% who were delayed in their training by COVID-19, have now progressed in their off-the-job training. And this includes over 700 final year apprentices who have been fast-tracked to complete their qualification. And the backlog is tackled in order of those apprentices who have been waiting longest. Over 700 apprentices who were in the final stages of their apprenticeship were supported to complete an accelerated final phase of workplace training and are now receiving their qualifications. And as of at the end of March, there are still significant numbers, over 7,000, still waiting to access phases 2, 4 and 6. So I don't in any way understate the issues here. Phase 4 lists have decreased significantly since January. It's expected that craft apprentices waiting for off-the-job training for phases 4 and 6 are on target to be cleared by the mid-end of 2022. And the majority of phase 2 waiting lists targeted to be cleared by the year-end 2022. And just to say that the CEO website on the 5th of November, for the first time that system opened for apprenticeships. The visit to apprenticeship.ie directly from CEO options page are up to 28,201 now. So,
thank you, Taoiseach.
You know, and again, I want to say to you generally, I'm open to see what more we can do to accelerate programmes without diluting too much the quality of the programmes.